Everyone lives, everyone dies. Everyone loves, everyone cries. Round the world we're all alike. So why is there war? Why do we fight? There's one sea, one sky, one earth. So you and I gotta learn to live together. When one hurts, when one needs, we all leave, gotta learn to live together. Peace, make peace, make peace, peace. Isn't it time for us to stop time? Isn't it time now to stop crying? Stop the fighting and the hate. We gotta make peace before it's too late. There's one sea, one sky, one earth. So you and I gotta learn to live together. When one hurts, when one needs, we all gotta learn to live together. Peace, in peace, in peace. All right, make peace. Round the world we're all alike. So why is there war? Why do we fight? There's one sea, one sky, one earth. So you and I gotta learn to live together. When one hurts, when one needs, we all gotta learn to live together. Peace, make peace, make peace, peace. Alright, isn't it time for us to stop time? Isn't it time now to stop crying? Stop the fighting and the hate. We gotta make peace before it's too late. There's one sea, one sky, one earth. So you and I gotta learn to live together. When one hurts, when one needs, we all gotta learn to live together. Peace, in peace, in peace. All right, make peace, peace together. Peace.
Welcome to the main event. Let's get ready to rumble!
Yes, guys, we're here. I'm late, as always. I'm sure you guys know exactly what this is all about. Anyways, let's call that one here. Thank you guys for joining me on the Facebook chat room. Those are actually on YouTube as well. Thank you for joining me. It's actually going to be a very interesting evening. We have a lot to talk about. I will not talk about what's happening out in the world regarding a specific war because it's already okay. About 3 years ago, most of it you're seeing is more like recordings of it, and they're just, how do you say, a lot of them are movie reviews, games. People are trying to tell me this, all these things are happening from all over the world, and yet I've got friends that actually from those countries, 2 countries, that have sent me messages and or videos and pictures of those specific locations, and they're not even gone. So I will say this, that we just have to be calm about it and not try to take this too literal. Hopefully, I'm trying to be real kind to this part. I know there's a lot of things that people don't agree, disagree, and argue about this, but the mainstream media is known to make it bigger than what it is. Okay, they're told to do that. And most of the fighting, and I will say this, most of the fighting is not in the Gaza nor in Israel or the part of Palestine. All your war right now, all the wars and fighting is in the United States and Canada. Okay, and other countries. They're arguing amongst each other in their own, and not, it's not even all the fighting is not even in Israel, nor is it in the part of the Palestine. It's all, we're fighting amongst each other in our own countries. Okay, we have citizens, American citizens, Canadian citizens are fighting each other. We're beating up each other. We are literally attacking each other. I remember a few months back, Israel and Palestine had nothing to do with anything. It was between the Ukraine and Russia. Oh, the Ukraine and Russians hate each other. Oh, we're going to fight you too. We're going to hate you too. We're going to protest in the streets. That went away. Then we have the protest regarding the truckers convoy. Oh, we're going to hate the RCMP. We're going to hate the police. Blah, 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 blah. You guys figured this out already? Have you figured this out? We're fighting amongst each other. Who has created the infighting? Who has created these wars that make money out of this? Think about it. Who's making money at this? Your governments, your military. They're making money out of this. Okay, your government's actually telling the military what to do. But that's exactly what's going on. And you guys are caught up in it. They want you to catch up in it. They want you to feel so immersed in this, to hate each other, to fight each other over religion. Come on, guys, get it. Learn. I thought we were supposed to get along here. You know, my wife she used to say, always said to me all the time, Derek, aren't you? I mean, your show should be spiritually awakening. It should all to do with helping to heal people. Well, that's what this is about. It's bring awareness. I'm here to bring awareness to you people and letting you know what the heck is going on, because everyone out there are fighting each other. And I'm watching all these videos. People sending me all these videos. Look what happened here. Look what happened here. Look what happened here. And I thought, okay, you're distracting me to go to these countries. Okay. You want me to go towards Palestine. You want me to go towards Gaza. You want me to go towards all these Hamas, all these Israelis are all fighting among each other. Sure, they create the argument. I guess it gets caught up in it. We do, because the mainstream media tells the story. They will send you video games that look like the real thing. They'll send, oh, I'm not kidding you guys. There actually have been, and the mainstream media even said this. They even actually said the truth, that these videos, they even said themselves that they were sent a couple of videos of bombings, and they're trying to get people to believe that this is what really happened. And actually they're from a video game to make you believe this is what's happening. Women, children, everybody dying. I've got videos here of Hollywood make-upping all of these children, right? Putting makeup on children to make them look like as if they're dying, that they got wounded with blood. I've got videos, lots of videos of it. Okay. And they're showing them how they're laying on the ground and how they can, okay, I want you to have your leg back here, and we're going to do this picture this way. Okay, now I want the all these reporters to go into the ditch, but you don't have to go to Israel. You don't have to go to the Gaza. You don't have to go anywhere there. We'll just do it here in England. We'll just find an abandoned area that makes it look like it's all decrepit and not really that great. And we'll get you to go down there and pretend that and we'll put the background music in it, or background sounds of bombings and stuff. We just want you to dramatize and make it look really that's what's going on. And that's exactly what they did. Until one of them got caught in a bullshit story. Okay. And here's Catherine. Yeah, it's true, Catherine. Over 120,000 extras. Okay. And a lot of these people were hired. These are crisis actors that were hired to make this movie, okay, or a whole variety of little films. Over 120,000 that were hired, okay, women, children, men, mostly children and women. And they didn't have to have experience in any kind of acting. All they had to do was be told what to do. I got videos of people that are supposed to have these white sheets wrapped around them, and their faces are face up, and they're supposed to pretend that they're dead. And there's a guy smoking a cigarette, and his eyes are wide open, having a cigarette inside that sheet. Are you kidding me? And that's supposed to be but somebody did an outtake to show them this is what should have been, but it's not. Okay. We got children. I got videos and pictures of children that are supposed to be wounded, and they're from another historical place that was done 10 years ago, but they're reusing those old photographs, but it's in another country, in Iraq. But they're using those very same pictures to make you believe that this was happening too. The same thing. No, it's not. And they're showing burnt pigs, real burnt pigs, okay? And they're supposed to say, oh, these are children. Okay, but the heads are gone. All the heads are gone. But just, they'd said these are children burnt. Where are the heads? Where's the part of the body that's attached to the child? They're not there. Because they don't want you, because pigs almost, if you hold a pig upright, it looks like a little human person. But someone said on the video, man, it smells like pigs in here. Well, they are pigs. Oh, not supposed to say that. Okay. Somebody did an outtakes and they're showing it. So the thing is, I'm trying to let you guys know, yes, there may be disagreements of countries that are fighting amongst each other. Let them fight amongst each other. If they want to argue, let them argue. We're still in a movie. Okay. I feel bad for a lot of people out there in every country that are trying to fight for their rights. I understand that part. I really do. We have our indigenous people are always fighting for our rights in this country, in Canada, United States. Okay. We're always fighting for our rights. The indigenous, the Aborigines are fighting for their rights in Australia and New Zealand. Always have for generations. Other countries are fighting for their rights in third world countries. For example, in Africa, South Africa, all these African American children. Here's one for you. How come the Zulu children, and how come a lot of the African American children are still in the third world, or placed still in the third world system? Why are these children still starving after 80 years on these TV commercials. Oh, these people, the water shortage here, and there is a very shortage of food in this country in Africa. We need you to be a sponsor for this country to bring money to pay to give food for these people. And people have done it for years. I also, when as a child, I used to go around from house to house to get people to donate money to help out different organizations that were supposed to be relating to children. I thought I was doing a good thing. Find out later that money did not go to the families in Africa. It went to the corporations. They weren't helping the African American kids. You were just making them money. We're handing out our extra cash that we thought were doing good and giving it to them for nothing. Why do you think they made money? How come those African kids, North Africa, South Africa, how come these children are still starving with big bellies, okay, and they're still starving? Why are they still in that same place? Nothing's changed. Why are we still sponsoring? Oh, looking for there's one little boy named Migo, and he was, we need you to become like a online parent, so to speak, and you could be like a big brother, big sister, big mama, whatever have you, and you can sponsor and to send money down to him, and he'll write your letter back, and back and forth. And a lady friend of mine who's now passed away, she's done it for over 20 years to one kid, okay, thinking that he will come someday down to see her in Canada to say, with your money, you brought me here, I got my education. Do you know how old that boy is? That sponsorship was done, how long ago it was made? Back in 1966. And she was sponsoring that kid for 20 years. That kid was even older than the woman that passed away. Okay? And now they'll still said that he's a kid. That's exactly what your corporations have been doing. All these people, these corporations, all they're doing is starving the people and other calling them third world countries. Okay. And that's exactly what's going on, folks. Yeah, there you go. Catherine says the money sent by good-willing people to all fundraising. Yeah, money went to deep states. I mean, that money never went to them. We have the same problem here with some of these companies, these secondhand stores, even in our country in Canada. I'll give you a bit of a heads up, folks. Okay, let's talk about Value Village, for example. Let's put Value Village in this. It's a secondhand store. It's supposed to be, a thrift shop. It's supposed to be a thrift store. I'll give you an example. I did my research. Now, when people saying they're trying to do goodwill to give to, say, Salvation Army, to any type of thrift shop businesses, especially, like I said. Anyways, what happens is when we donate our items to these people, what's required is when those items are donated to them. Now, you also hear about big brothers and big sisters, Red Cross, all this that you're donating your items to. What those companies are required to do, for example, if you want to do big brothers, big sisters, all these thrift companies, they come to your door, picks up your items. All they have to do is only give 10% of the value of the item to that organization, and the rest of it goes to the company that actually is doing the transferring of product. So Value Village, okay, what they do is they'll tell you that they have a sponsor like Big Brothers Big Sisters, and all they have to do is give 10% of the value of the product, or by weight. Okay, they'll create a weight. If it's a ton, they'll get 10% valued of the ton of the item. The rest of the money goes to the corporation. Yes, folks, Value Village is corporation. Now, Value Village is under an investigation. A lady friend of mine I've just finished talking to just recently said to me that Value Village are actually under investigation. They're actually doing a criminal investigation, or not because they do criminal investigation right now, because now they decided to change their stores, calling them boutique. Why? Is because they decided to raise the price of value of clothes. So they turned it into a secondhand clothing store, but with higher product. Okay, it's no longer thrift more anymore. The word thrift does not mean anything anymore, folks. I remember when we were young, when we went to a thrift store, thrift means items that were affordable for a person that can buy something that we can recycle, reuse. That's what basically it's supposed to be about. Okay. Salvation Army for one too as well. Okay. When you went to Salvation Army, I remember years ago back in the 1960s that when you could not afford clothes, and my wife can tell you this herself, when I was living in Manitoba, you go to the Salvation Army, they would have this day, this weekend, that there's lineups of clothes, there's shirts, there's pants, there's socks, there's shoes, and there's coats, and even bathware, bedroom sheets and quilt, we didn't name it, whatever's required, blankets. Now, your true thrift businesses used to donate for nothing to you. Okay, they would give you a free pair of pants, underwear, free socks, free shoes, and a free shirt and a coat, and sometimes even a hat. And they would give them to you for free. They even the Salvation Army used to donate these to, like, you get for free. So you had something on you that is yours. You didn't have to pay for it. They gave it that. That's what they used to do. That's called salvation. They would help you, okay, to give you the clothing. But there's a catch to it. We'll give you the clothing, but you got to come to their church. Okay. Nothing comes for free anymore to give for good as goodwill. Okay. The word goodwill means nothing to no corporations. Nothing. If you're going to give goodwill to your neighbor. Give goodwill to people that you know. When I work as a director for many different types of organizations, indigenous organizations, I will not donate any of my items to Valley Village or Salvation Army. None. I will give to my people or our people that need it. If there's anybody living on the street that are houseless, and I have a spare coat or something that someone has, and they'll say to me, Derek, I've got some extra clothes. You know, somebody that wants anything for themselves and they're in really good condition. I said, give them to me. I'll give them to the people that are on the street or people that will, and any organization is willing to take them. And they'll have young folks or people like, you know, anybody who can afford these clothes, and they'll create a weekend within a matter of a few weeks, a weekend for those people to come over and they donate them for free. You're not paying for them. Okay. And this is what's happening. We have forgotten how to be thrifty, but we're also forgot we forgot to even use the word goodwill. We have forgotten to give goodwill. I mean, that's why Christmas is on its way. That was goodwill. Okay. Goodwill for Christmas was like giving. Okay, you're giving something of someone that you feel is special to you. Sure, is that all to do with under the Christ Mass, the Mass of people to gather together to honor Christ? Yes, that's one of them. But the other was also to give goodwill, to give, remember? Because you're helping others, those that are in need, even for people that are elderly in homes, people that cannot afford a toy. I'm still doing all this even for our veterans. Whenever we have veterans year, like each year, I will make a wreath out of cedar, do the special work on it, and I would go to the cenotaph and I would leave that wreath there in honor of our Indigenous veterans, or all veterans really. And that's what I would do, because to me, in my heart, that's what I would do, because I'm reminding myself and letting others, even after their memorials, that Veterans Day is not just that 1 week of the year, it's every day. To remember that these people have been fighting for your freedom, every day, all across the world, President Trump has over 1 million soldiers out there right now as we speak. 1 million. You didn't know that. I'm sure you didn't. You thought, well, maybe 100,000. No, 1 million soldiers all over the world fighting for you above ground, in the air, and underground, as well in space. Fighting for your freedom on this planet. And you take advantage of it, but say, I don't care. I got things to do. No, I'm not. Oh, he's not that. No, I wouldn't listen to that. No, prove it to me. No, he can't. No, it would be on the news if he did this. It won't be on the news because you still wouldn't listen. And it wouldn't be on the news because you wouldn't believe in it. And it wouldn't be on the news because you don't like the guy. I hope you're going to learn to find out this man's the one's been saving your freaking ass for all these years. He's the one's been helping save this planet. Not by himself, but he's been helping, showing us, not just him alone. Others have been helping him because they asked him to help. The military, special forces, alliance forces asked him to help. So he's now the commander-in-chief, and he's been commander-in-chief for a long time. Yes, he did serve in the military as well. Okay, if you guys, oh no, he's just a salesman and all he's been doing is buying and selling properties. Yes, his family did that. But remember, you guys don't know every piece of history of the real Donald Trump. He did serve, and he's still serving. Why do you think these soldiers, when they see him, they salute him? He's not being saluted because he's the president, was the president of the United States. They're saluting him because he still is the president of the United States, and he is the commander-in-chief. He's the commander-in-chief of our armed forces here in Canada. He's the commander-in-chief of the United States. He's also commander-in-chief of New Zealand, commander-in-chief of Australia and Mexico, and probably more, because we all merged into one, all 5 of these and maybe more of these countries to become one, a unit. Okay, what he's trying to create is one nation. Okay, one nation under God, one nation under God. Trump is not God. He's there to help you to see the truth and to open your eyes. That's what he's here for. And if you see it, great. If you don't, start listening and start watching, start paying attention. If you start telling me on any of your any of your chat rooms, well, prove it. I've proven it. And you guys weren't even willing to listen to it or even see. If I did show it to you, oh, no, somebody made that up. No, it has to be on the news first before you can actually believe it. The mainstream media, 90+% of the media, mainstream media, were lying anyways. Why do you think he called it fake news? Because your corporations are the one telling them to say what they want them to say. But have you noticed lately that now even CNN and Fox and a few others in the States as well as Canada are now beginning to say the truth? And they're hinting a few things out in front of you, but you're still not wanting to see it. Oh, no, I don't want to see. No. And I've seen so many of you guys out there trying so hard to make up jokes and to criticize Trump still. You're still doing it. Saying, oh, he's a racist and he's this and he's that. He's not a racist. He never was. He never was. Trump was never a racist. Oh no, he never raped nobody. He's not a racist. He's neither of anything. He's a good guy. I know people personally that know him personally. Okay? And I'm waiting for that day. 2 people I know personally had said to me, okay, in certain different times, said to me, Derek, do you want to meet President Trump? Do you want to talk to him on the phone? Are you kidding me? Yeah, we can make arrangements. You can have a chat with him on the phone. I went, Okay. But that day will come. They said, we'll see what we can do for you. And I'm going like, cool. I'm just a humble person that am just doing what I can do to let you guys know what's going on in this world. Okay. Thank you, Keith. Canada in World War II had a population of about 11.5 million. Out of that, we had 10% of our population in uniform. That's true. And none of our Canadian people ever had, okay, the Americans did have to, was a word they used? They were forced to join. Okay, American people had to be, they were forced to join. They do the, I forgot what they call it. You guys are American, you probably know. Anybody they send you a letter and you're forced to join the military. In Canada, we never had that. You're a volunteer, and most of those volunteers were 16 years old on up, and they pretend they're 19. Draft, thank you. They were forced to do the draft, but we never had draft here. Okay, not in Canada. We ourselves, as Canadian citizens, we volunteered. We never drafted, because I talked to a lot of the soldiers here and that served, and they said there never was a draft in Canada, but there was a volunteer. And a lot of Canadian citizens believed on supporting other countries, or especially the United States. And during the Second World War, guess what, folks? You may not realize this. Our people, our Canadian citizens, were the first in line in front of the United States. We took the brunt of it first. We lost a lot of lives. Over 1 million men and women lost their lives in the Second World War because we were on the front lines before the U.S. Why? Because we wanted to protect our neighbors, and we were there. Okay? We were there. Now, Catherine says one of her neighbors was a draft dodger from the USA. And yes, some people were draft dodgers, but some of the draft dodgers did not want to be part of the Korean War. And it wasn't as much the Second World War people are draft dodging. They didn't want to be part of the Korean War. Why? Because it had nothing to do with the United States. But because Nixon got his ass and nose involved, because they need to make some money, because it was all to do with drugs, to make money. Okay, and the S and the C, who are I and the okay, were involved. So it's bigger than you and I, folks. Okay. And yeah, so Catherine says my great uncle died at the age of 18 in 1918 in France, where he is buried in Poppy's Field. Yeah. 18. We had a lot of our Canadian soldiers died. I'm not putting down American soldiers or anybody else. I'm just pointing out that we ourselves, and any time that whenever we're in a war, as a Canadian, if we ever got to a fight, an argument or a fight, we would rather walk away from a fight instead of being in the fight. But if you force us in the corner, we'll fight you. We don't use a gun. We don't use a knife. We'll fight with these. Always did. We're raised to fight with these. And yet there were people out there that could not fight with these. They had to fight with weapons. And now today, we don't have people fighting with these anymore. They fight with weapons. In fact, even the cowards fight with weapons because they're the ones that create the fights with weapons. So, yeah, we were the first and the harshest of battles. But we cared because we wanted to help our neighbor, and that's always was. That's why maybe is the reason why as Canadian citizens, it took us longer to really wanting to, I guess you'd say, we did a lot of apologizing. Why do we apologize? And if anybody gets mad at us, we just, I'm sorry. We're just trying to get over it, move on. Get over it. Okay. You don't have to rant and rave and keep on going or keep it like, it's almost like being in a relationship. They have a man or the woman, whether one or the other likes to keep on ranting and raving over the same subject over and over again. You just like my wife said, you'll be kicking the can until it's flat. And then when after it's flat, you're still kicking it, trying to find it so you can still make use of what's left of it. And that's exactly what was going on. And we have the same problem right now in these other militaries from the very beginning of this program. They're all we're doing, folks. We're fighting their fight. We're involved in their fight. They're making us feel they want us to be distracted into their and to be part of their problem. Think about it, folks. We're blending in. We're becoming their problem. There's nobody. You know where all these battles are? Now, hardly anybody in Canada, United States are, and I will say this, hardly anybody in Canada, United States are actually Palestinian. Not that, I mean, hardly very many in Canada that are Palestinian. Hardly that many in Canada that are part of Jerusalem. And yet they create a shuffle and waffle and they get us involved to join them. Okay. Next thing you know, we're fighting each other, our own neighbors in our own country. So here we are fighting each other, and yet we're not those people. We're not that group. We're not part of them, never have been. We're just people, all those people are doing, they're volunteering an argument, but they're making it bigger than the story itself. And you know, like there's a reason why when I'm talking about this book, okay, Jordan Maxwell, who I knew personally, and Jordan Maxwell gave me this book, okay, and it's called Matrix of Power. And I shared with you guys last week some of the things that he was trying to show you, that the symbolisms and all these things that took place have been going on for over 60 years. And he's trying to show you what has been going on, what was going on. And yet a lot of people were kept on saying, whether it's to Jordan or to David Icke or anyone else who they're calling us conspiracy theorists. Jordan had proof, lots of proof, major proof. You know who hated him the most? Men in Black. Do you know who hated him the most? Politicians. You know who hated him the most? Anybody who's against the idea of Jordan exposing them. And Jordan has been warned thousands of times through the years, and his life was in a lot. I don't know how many times he's had death threats. Oh, he's had death threats for years because of this. And then when it came the time, when Jordan decided to say his last story, his last, I would say, exposé story to share with you, the Men in Black were at one of the conferences where I was at, okay, UFO conference, and Jordan said his last, I would say, interview of that one. I mean, live on location, and he would share one last thing with everyone. And I was there when he shared that. And there was a couple of people that were really angry what Jordan shared. This is long before all this ever started happening here. Okay. The Jordan talked about this back just before the Big C happened. We're up in it was February of 2019. And I was in Laughlin, Nevada there with, I was doing my presentation there as well. That's why I knew Jordan. I was not so close. I was with Jordan and Johnny Enoch and some really good people out there. Big shout out to all my friends, Michelle and Karen and all them, because if it wasn't for these guys, I'm Bob Brown. If it wasn't for these guys, give me strong support, I wouldn't be there. But they want me to talk about my experiences with the extraterrestrials. And I did my presentation, but I got to spend some time with Jordan, and I got to spend some time with a lot of new people that heard about me and had fun doing it. And yes, I've had my share of, be careful, don't say this, be careful. If I were you, I wouldn't say that, I wouldn't do this. I still went ahead and did it because I already knew that those guys up there are the ones that are taking care of me. And same with Jordan. Those guys up there are the ones that are taking care of Jordan. They've been protecting Jordan for many, many years, that he would never come to harm. And he never came to harm, ever. And Jordan's been on so many spaceships. Oh my God. He's been on so many spaceships and traveled on them constantly. Constantly. He's been everywhere. Jordan was taken around every part of the world. Pretty well, Jordan was one of the, and didn't cost him a dime. He was taken all around the world and met up with all kinds of people from all over the world. And he didn't cost them nothing. And they wanted him to come down to their countries. And Jordan spent the time with them, and he shared his wisdom of this book. Okay. So many things and his experiences, and shared it with them. In fact, for 3 months, Jordan spent 3 months in Saudi Arabia with the princess of Saudi. And she wanted to know everything that Jordan knew, and she wanted to learn from him because she really believed in him. And she made sure that Jordan was taken care of. He actually, Jordan had, was treated with kids' gloves. I mean, he was treated like Jordan got spoiled. Like whatever food, if he needed food or travel anywhere, want to meet some people or whatever, or go anywhere, he had bodyguards of his own for 3 months, place to live. He lived Jordan lived like a prince, like he was really good at it. Turn this thing off. Hang on a second, guys. Okay. So turn off my messenger or that message thing so I wouldn't get bugged in the phone. So, like I said before, no, Jordan is passed. He's passed away. He's not protective custody, unless you're talking about somebody else. But Jordan actually was well taken care of until his passing, and like I said before, and I like I said to Johnny, my friend Johnny, or anybody else, it was too soon, because now Jordan's words of wisdom would have even be more beneficial because of all the things that are happening right now. Mind you, a lot of his videos have been out everywhere now. They're all over YouTube, Telegram, Facebook, all your social networks, anywhere else wherever Jordan could be shared, and people, all his videos, as many people have actually got his videos to share his wisdom, storytelling, whatever he talks about. Is you need to watch, folks, and take it literally for real. I mean, his words of wisdom was real. And and he's met him, by the way. He met Bob Joyce in person many years ago. So Jordan's met a lot of famous people, famous that I never would have been able to meet. But he had his share of great information. He learned from them. Yes, Jordan did meet the Freemasons, but these are the good guys, not the bad guys. Jordan met a lot of famous people that were talking about the Anunnaki before me. And even he worked with Danny Brinkley for 50. He's known Danny Brinkley for 50 years. He's worked with him, learned of his knowledge. Like, they work back and forth from each other. There's a lot of people that Jordan knew, and then there's some really great people that Jordan worked with in the States. I don't remember their names personally, but there will be coming out. There will be a documentary made. It's probably turned itself into a TV series of sort. And they're going to be doing a biography on Jordan Maxwell from his youth through the years, and it's going to be quite interesting. So Daniel and Johnny and and a few more people that are friends of closest to him. They're going to put this together. So we're hoping, what I understand, I think it's coming out either the end of this year or beginning of next year. But there'll be, I can't say when the release is, but the guys will be talking about it down the road where they'll be doing the documentary. It'll be considered as part of a TV series of sort. So that's coming soon. And Jordan was part of Gaia. He was interviewed in Gaia as, oh my God, he's been interviewed everywhere, all over. So what I want to do is, even though I spouted off a little bit regarding what's going on regarding those two countries, I just find it disheartening. Where here we are, and I'm watching, even on Ontario. I mean, our own people, citizens now, the police are trying to protect a certain area, and now the people are attacking the police, and all the cops are trying to do is trying to protect a specific area that puts part of Canada, or part, I guess it's a memorial site, and they're trying to protect that location. Now the protesters want to destroy that location, or I've seen some pictures like it's getting worse and worse. It gets stupider and stupider. People are getting dumber and dumber. But again, they're caught up in all the belief of what CNN and whoever these mainstream medias are doing. They're believing that hype. And if you believe the hype, folks, you're not going to get very far in life. So, anyways, what I want to do is share some really important information for you guys to know this. I'm sure, and I will say this, it's important that you do know this, because now, if you haven't checked back with my first program I did last week regarding Jordan's work, we're talking about this book itself. And Jordan Maxwell is considered to be the most, I guess, to see the most important fellow that I've ever known, that was considered to be the world's foremost authority on ancient religions and modern conspiracies. His work on the true meaning of symbols, logos, and company insignias has also fascinated audiences around the world for years. He grew up in a family that had high-ranking insiders in international politics and religion, so was privy to behind-the-scenes information that few people could imagine during the time that he was growing up, and this intrigued him and set him off on a lifetime of investigation. Now, the book itself that I'm going to be sharing with you guys is a rather partial result of many years of investigating. And who really runs the world? Like he says, the questions are: who really runs the world? Who controls the money, the politics, and almost every facet of your life without you knowing a thing about it? And is such a thing as possible? Explore this fascinating subject with a man who has devoted a lifetime of studies to uncovering our hidden masters. And there are a number of more highly visible researchers who are speaking out and writing on this subject. And Jordan Maxwell has, for the most part, remained in the shadows, similar to those who manipulate the world affairs. And so Jordan had files of documentation are enormous, and yet this first book is he's the sole author of it. I will say this, if you didn't know this, but Jordan himself, he actually had files and files and files of his work, like he had a filing cabinets full of information from his work. And someone came in one day, broke in his house, and stole everything. And I'm going to show you guys my page on Rumble. If you haven't seen it yet, look for that page, Between Two Worlds, with guest Jordan Maxwell, 10/10/2019, re-edited 10/11/2023. That is the time that I actually interviewed Jordan myself personally. And also the time, and also the week before that, we were talking about the 9/11 in 9/11/2023. So it's worth your while to have a look. And then you can also refer back to some of my other recordings that I've done So get a chance to go on Rumble and check it out yourself because it's worth your while. You'll see lots here that be worth your while to play catch up and see what's going on across this world. Because people have been so caught up in their own stuff, and then they'll say, "Oh, I didn't know that. Didn't know that." There's no harm in not, like don't be upset with yourself saying that you didn't know. You know, pardon me. But if you don't know, that's fine. It doesn't hurt to go back into it to learn. You have a better knowledge of it. And like I said before, folks, everything out here is called distraction. They're just giving you distractions. Now, we're going to go into talking about the subject. Yeah, it was right over here. What title? William Randolph Hearst, the American newspaper publisher, said, "Any man who has the brains to think and the nerve to act for the benefit of the country is always considered a radical by those who are content with stagnation and willing to endure their own disaster. I am not willing to endure of my disaster the things they are going down, like AIDS, being a blood-borne disease, and the blessing in your blood is the ideology from ancient times." And in 1953, in the fall, Norman Dodd was a director for the Reese Committee, and the Reese, Reese, committee was set up to investigate the foundations. Those fine, admirable foundations like the Rockefeller Foundation and the Warburg Foundation, and all those back east foundations with their hundreds of millions of dollars that we don't know anything about. According to the record, a man named Rowan Gauthier, or Gaither, Gaither, who was the president of the Ford Foundation, met with Norman Dodd and told him this: "Mr. Dodd, all of us at the policy-making level have had experience in the OSS, or with the European Economic Administration, with directives from the White House. We operate here today under those directives from the White House." And when he was asked by Mr. Dodd, "What directives have you been operating under?" President Gaither replied, "The substance of those directives as foundations were that we shall use our grant-making powers to alter our United States so that we can be comfortably merged with the Soviet Union in the near future. Is there something going on here that we don't know about in this new world order? I would like to advise the reader to understand what we are not doing. We are not trying to put down anyone's faith or religion, and what we are trying to do is to get to the bottom of what we are dealing with in the world today. If whatever we believe is not true, then we had better find out and get to the bottom line, because we are all in on this planet together, and if we are part of something that isn't true, it would behoove us to find out about it now. That is what I'm hoping to be able to accomplish. Now, in 1959, I began to study religio-political philosophy, which turned into a lifetime of investigative research into this subject. Now, when I was just a little kid, a member of my family was a part of the team at the Vatican in the Vatican Secretary of State office. And on occasion, when we would come to the United States to visit our family, he would sit and talk for hours about all of the intrigue going on concerning world affairs of state. Now, as a little kid, I was hearing this kind of material about fascinating subjects related to the secret societies and fraternal orders. I know a lot of people that don't know very much about the Vatican. The Vatican is a country unto itself. Did you guys hear that? A country unto itself. A very powerful country, politically speaking. Heads of state from all over the world come to the Vatican to pay homage to the papacy. The papacy plays a very, very important role in the international politics, and it has always been able to demonstrate this immense power in the world affairs. However, what is most interesting is that a new development has been emerging that concerns an occult Freemasonic order operating under the name of P2 or Propaganda Due, D-U-E, Propaganda Due. It is made up of some of the most profoundly significant right-wing fascist Freemasonic figures in all of Europe. This is actually true because the man who was the Grand Master of this Masonic order, P2, was Lucio Galli, Licio-Gelli, Licio Galli, was invited by the Ronald Reagan's presidential campaign to appear at his inauguration. And there are pictures of Ronald Reagan with Licio Galli. And Galli supported the fascist Mussolini in World War II, then was forced to flee to Argentina, where he supported the dictator Juan Perón. And Galli finally returned to Italy in the 1960s, and that is when he joined the Grand Orient, as it was known in Italy, meaning the Masonic Order of Freemasonry. Okay. With the support of the Grand Orient, Galli was cleared for his war crimes and that he'd been charged, or they was charged with. And Galli, as Grand Master of the P2, made it to the most violent and powerful secret political organization in Italy, a former U.S. intelligence officer who became involved with a group called the P2, a state within a state, much like the Vatican. There are clearly political ties between these organizations and world governments, as evidenced by Galli and Reagan. We don't normally see them on the surface. Europe is a very small world, and so is America. And there are many important connections between Europe and America, but there are often hidden below the surface. And I know I grew up listening to it among private family members. Let me explain something that you might find quite interesting. We're hearing a lot of this New World Order, okay, the words New World Order, hearing, and the video of the former President George W. Bush originally kept talking about it. And Europe was the old world, and America, of course, after it was discovered, was known as the New World. In the old world, Europe was dominated by the Vatican. The Vatican dominated Europe, and Europe dominated the world. It was said that the power behind the Vatican was an order of Freemasonry, and believe me, the more one looks into it, the more truth to this fact emerges. It was an occult order of Freemasonry operating from behind the scenes and thereby exercising influence over European politics. Now, that was an old order, like the Masonic order, or an order of priesthood, and it was commonly known as a fraternal order. Now, to show you here, there's a cardinal of the Catholic Church meets with Adolf Hitler. Germany kept friendly relations with the Vatican throughout World War II, and Hitler meeting with the Archbishop of Germany, and the politics of war require the cooperation of religion, and Hitler opposed the Jews. But note the papal headdress. And here you go, folks. There and there. Okay. So this is for real. These are photographs. Okay. Now, it was commonly known as the Fraternal Order. Now, this very small group of people actually ran the show, and yes, from behind the scenes and with the Vatican out in front as front organization. Now, the Vatican representing religion would be untouchable, and of course, you wouldn't want to do anything to harm or interfere with God's will. The power behind the Vatican throne for the past 15 or 1600 years had been referred to in circles as the Old World Order. It was the order of the Old World, and then when the United States was discovered, we've become known as the New World, and therefore there are now religio, political, fraternal orders which dominate our country and through us dominate the world, and that is a new world order. So when we hear the word order, they are talking about a fraternal order like an order of priesthood or a Masonic order, and this new world order is operating out of our country, and you need to take orders of the papal and or Vatican. When you have to remember too, when you say religio-political movement, there has never been a religious movement throughout the world but didn't have a little politics involved in it. Now, there has never been a political movement that wasn't a little bit religious. As a matter of fact, at one time in the ancient world, the government was religion, and the religion was government. Today, in our modern world, we are not really aware of that. We naively think that things have always been the way they are in the United States, but this is not so. There is a profound connection on the outside of the powerful organizations, and believe that there is a separation of church and state. Okay. And the American Armed Forces hire chaplains. They become officers in the military. Therefore, they are paid religious leaders to represent God for the government. You have to remember that when you get married, you don't go before God for your marriage. You go before the state and you get a license. Before you can talk to God about marriage, and if your marriage doesn't work out, you don't go to God and talk to him about it. You go to the courts, because that's where the real power is contained. To draw the point out again, that there is a connection between church and state. And just think about the church arena. Inside the church is just like inside a courtroom. Symbols are like letters of an alphabet. You put them together and they spell a word. And you put in enough of them together and you've got the story. And today we have the symbol of ARCO, ARCO, which is the Masonic symbol, a square, which goes back to Jason and the Argonauts. Jason and the Argonauts, if people remember the Argonauts. These symbols are images that we may not know the full story about, but look at these emblems in the oil companies, on cigarette packages, and on food items and automobile emblems. They are all classic examples. It has been said that the emblems and symbols dwell deep within the collective unconscious. So this is not just a coincidence that they happen to be religious, and they also happen to be political. They're also used in advertising campaigns, and everybody is using the same symbols. There are only a finite number of symbols that make any sense, so everyone is going to use them. Governmental politics is actually a business, and a business that has been around a very long time. America is a big business, originally founded as a business corporation. The original 13 colonies were not called colonies, they were called companies. So the 13 colonies were not called colonies; they're called 13 companies. Okay. That's why in corporate law, every corporation must have a president and a vice president, and that we have a president and a vice president of our corporation, our country. This country, the United States of America, is a business, or at least it was, as even the U.S. business can show a loss or whatever. So there is as much um, chicanery going on both in politics and religion. And when you have a financial loss, just remember that there is just so much money out there and out in the world. And if somebody is losing it, that means it's going somewhere. Therefore, someone is making it. When you see a big stock market crash and everyone loses their money, then somebody else just made a lot of money. Really, all the amounts to is that this huge amount of money just changed hands. And that is what's happening today. Our country is in bad economic straits because somebody is hoarding all the money. I have an opinion as to who hoards all the money, but I'm not going to express it here. I don't feel I have to do that. I think that we all understand the golden rule. He who has all the gold makes the rules. And there is no real power among the people of this country, and there never has been. We understand that the political setup in this country is identical to many in the ancient world, and just know that the movie being enacted on the screen of the world is not actually what was going on, but that there are people behind the screen, behind the scenes, and that are actually manipulating the play or movie, and that most people do not know anything about. And that's what's happening right now, folks. We're in the middle of a movie. Let's take some of the major religions and find out what is really going on. Even motion pictures reflect an occult story, and they are telling this story. For example, the ancient magical priests of the Celtics had magic wands, and the magic wands were used to dupe people or to work their magic on them. Magic wands were always made out of holly wood. Consequently, our masters still use holly wood to manipulate our thinking and to tell us stories. There is a tremendous amount of symbolism in our motion pictures today. Hollywood. There was such a thing as the Ark of the Law, and it was a box with two handles on it. It had the two winged angels on it, just as we see today in pictures of the Ark of the Covenant of the ancient Hebrews. But thousands of years before the Hebrew nation ever existed, we have the Ark of the Law of ancient Egypt. That ark was symbolic for a very powerful force that Egypt was able to dominate the world with. With the coming of Western man, the concepts and ideas coming out of Egypt were adopted. The same magic is being used today, such as Washington, D.C. We see the obelisk right here, right there in the Washington, that has been profound meaning that dates. Now, this is actually in biblical Ark of the Covenant, has the origins in ancient Egyptian Ark of the Law. And it's a little bit hard to see probably, but we'll see what I can do here for you guys. This is what it looks like here. Okay, that's a photograph, an old photograph of it. You get to see that. Okay. So and then all-seeing eye. Oh, here we go. In fact, I myself adhere and believe the teachings to be very fine and fundamental concept. Now, concerning the way to lead one's life, but you must understand that it is a story that has been retold, and retold. So if you understand that it correctly, what I can call understanding Christianity, you would understand the basic principles that are being discussed. Now, rather than hanging everything on just to a story, the reason and logic alone would tell you that you have to ask questions and did all the those people back in the biblical times go around with tape recorders or court stenographers and check every single word every prophet spoke, or check up on every character in the Bible. What he did, where he went, and what he spoke? Did they have tape recorders? Okay, this is your all-seeing eye that's on your dollar. Okay, your American dollar. I'm not sure if we have that same one on our anywhere near our money, Canadian money, or something close to it. How do we know that every single word must be exactly that word, and every single event must coincide with every single word? Now, there's only one way you could get a book to coincide and fall in the line completely as beautiful whole story, as if it was written as a story. So that is what it was. I'm saying, and with the Bible was written as a very beautiful story. If you understand, that's all it was, a story. Now, there is some good history in the Bible. I am not saying that the Bible is not the Word of God. I just don't believe that it is the only divine book written in the world. And they're talking, and this is Jordan Maxwell saying this, folks, okay? If you understand that the world was at one time dominated by the Vatican, and there was a world war. In fact, there have been 2 world wars between powerful secret societies for power on this earth. Now, one is the New World Order as opposed as the Old World Order. I believe that is why the world wars have been fought. That's why we're having skirmishes all over the world. And this is happening right now as we speak. I have 2 books in my collection right now, and one was printed in 1969, another in 1972 or 1973. Now, talking about how Yugoslavia, former Yugoslavia, was going to be divided between the secret societies. They were going to go in and cause a lot of confusion and chaos and break up the status quo there purposely. In relations in this New World Order, which is coming, so there's got to be some connections there between what's happening today and when there was they are knowledgeable people that have foretold that these things were going to happen in Yugoslavia. Now, nothing happens by happenstance, but this is all being orchestrated by some small group of people. Okay, I truly don't think that there are a lot of things that happened by chance, and I don't think that important things politically are allowed to happen by chance. And keep in mind that when you hear government officials talk about crime and drugs, saying that they can't seem to get a handle on the drug traffic, they can't seem to get a handle on the crime in the streets, and they're not just able to get a handle on these serious problems. Just remember that almost 60 years ago, the United States got a handle on Nazi Germany. They did get control of the standing army of Adolf Hitler on the other side of the world. My point is that any crime that goes on or any drug trafficking that goes on is going on with the knowledge and consent, if not cooperation, of very powerful group of people who have their reasons. It might just be to keep you frightened to death and keep you worried about the future so that you will accept anything they give you. Any kind of idea that they'll come up with to distract you from real truth. And they have the power to shut down anything they want anytime they please. So if something is going on and it is going on with their help, or they're allowing it to happen politically, this is the same thing that happened in the Nazi Germany. Adolf Hitler told the German people that in order to keep the crime off the streets and avoid all the trouble that was going on the confusion, that they all would have to do is to elect him. Let me say that I don't believe that the whole world is totally controlled, but reason and logic alone dictate that possibility of that happening always Anytime a country goes to war or is building up for a future war, all countries picture their coming enemy as a desperate murderer, killing babies or whatever they've got going. They've got to generate that kind of a Führer, yeah, okay, German Führer for Führer, in the people's minds so that they will justify going to war with this terrible person or a whole body of people in any given country, like Saddam Hussein. These hidden agendas are contrived by the media and the press, and they led America. Now, if not, instigated the energy into war with Saddam, and this could be called outright propaganda. And although it really is news, NEWS, it is called the evening news, of course, and we see that these terrible, evil people on the news, then later on we'll hear that the president has made some kind of arrangement with the person that to give him $50 billion of our money, and then you see them patting each other on the back and go off to their local Masonic lodges together. But come to find out, this is a business arrangement. Yesterday, this guy was our duplicable enemy, and today he is our friend, and we are supporting his agenda. We are being duped. Throughout the history of humankind, the vast majority of people who have been duped by a few that are in power, we sit here like sitting suckers with a sign hung out on our front America lawns saying, "Come on, here is your next ready-made sucker." And today, the American public, the plain old ordinary American public, have been duped from day one, and we continue to allow this horrendous duplicity. A few years ago, a movie came out that was called Network. You guys remember that movie? In it, the network broadcasters said that the general view of the people was, just leave me alone, and I don't care about all of this. Just let me have my radial tires, my beer, my remote control, and television, and I'll be numbed out happy. Every day, the powers of government keep moving on you, little by little, until one day there is no more freedom. And that is exactly what is happening to our country today. And in my opinion, we have already lost most of our real freedom to the federal government. And what it is that might be coming like Henry Kissinger. And Henry Kissinger said this: "Today, America would be outraged if the UN troops entered Los Angeles to restore order," referring to the 1991 LA riot. "Tomorrow they will be grateful. This is especially true if they were told that there were an outside threat from beyond, example, extraterrestrial invasion. Whether real or propagated, that threatened our very existence, it is then that all peoples of the world will plead to deliver them from this evil. And the one thing every man fears is the unknown. And when presented this with scenario, individual rights will be willingly relinquished for for the guarantee of their well-being granted to them by the world government." Unquote. Like this is Kissinger saying these words, right? He wrote those words in 1991 in France, at the Bilderberg conference. He wrote those words, or said those words. "I believe that the real freedom is in the mind and in the intellectual brain, and that's when real freedom is happening. And there is something to do with our spirituality in the mind which brings freedom. And there's this one place that the government fears most. Is your mind and your way of thinking. Your ability will be yourself and do your own thinking, and you call your own shots and be your own person." Okay. That's exactly what governments do not want for every world citizen. They try to keep you busy so that they can pay your bills and pay your taxes and take care of your house. And then when you finish taking care of all the details of the survival, and the government hopes that you will not have the time or will try not to think about what the next of the things that we have been talking about is in the book, And if there is leisure time among much of the population, they will give you entertainment to keep you completely distracted, anything to prevent you from thinking more deeply. Just make sure there is plenty of drugs, plenty of entertainment, plenty of sex, drugs, rock and roll, and that will keep the people happy and keep them occupied so they will stay out of the way and to be mind controlled. I'm not saying that people should not be able to do this, but it would be behooved you to get an education, read, study, investigate. When I'm saying on your own, take the responsibility to find these things out. And I am reporting here, go to the libraries, online, check out and read something about the occult world and about how we are manipulated, especially in our politics and religion. I could provide you with the list of literally hundreds of very informative and interesting volumes on these subjects. Today, there are many secret fraternal organizations that are interconnected and they have a deep grip on world power behind the scenes. Our world and lives are so full of symbolism. For example, once again on the back of the American dollar, the bill, the Great Seal of America, it is filled with occult meaning. If you find out on the dollar bill the eagle that comes from the ancient concept of the phoenix and has 13 stars above it, the 13 stars are arranged in the configuration of the 13 of the Star of David or the hexagram. Okay, most people think the 13 stars represent the own original 13 colonies. In the first place, why did they have to have 13 colonies? 13, right? Why couldn't they have had 27 or 4 or 10? Then one understands that the number 13 is a very important, profound Masonic number, and that many of the founding fathers of this country were Freemasons as well as Rosicrucians. Then you will follow this connecting thread of material to see what was actually being created, and they knew what they were doing when they divided this country into 13 colonies. The number 13 is not an unlucky number for them. It is an unlucky number for you. The number 13 comes from Jesus and his 12 apostles. The 12 apostles were the cornerstones of the new era, and Jesus is referred to as the chief cornerstone that the builders rejected. Twice in the New Testament, Jesus is referred to as the chief cornerstone. Chief cornerstone is a Greek word that means the peak of a pyramid. That's why there is a little pyramid on top of the big pyramid. On the left side, on the back of the dollar bill. That is the chief cornerstone. It's symbolic of Jesus. The pyramid also has 13 layers. And as a matter of fact, 13 is all over the back of the American $1 bill. And I will have to say that the Illuminati, under their various guises and names, run the affairs of the world. Freemasonry is a very ancient fraternal order, and for thousands of years it was made up of many different groups, which loosely fit into the Association of Builders, going back to the most ancient times in which men built with bricks, such as, as the pyramids of Egypt and all the ancient temples, and they were brick builders. And even today, we refer to one working with bricks as a brick mason. The trade of a mason, yeah, I did actually think about that part. Trade of a mason. Yeah, or the conceptual idea of building with bricks was a building trade. There were men who did nothing but that, and they were referred to as a brick masons. Yeah, they came down through ancient history and began to jealously guard each other's work and not let any newcomers come into the trade. They had unions, so to speak, and we do the same thing today. Later on in the 1717 Okay, many occult orders and many of the um, many of the building trade orders of Freemasonry came to, and let's repeat this again. They had unions, so to speak, and we do the same thing today. Later on in 1717, okay, there's 1717. There's a good number there. Many occult orders and many of the building trade orders of Freemasonry came together in London, England, and began what we call the Freemasonry on the modern day scale. Modern day Freemasonry was started in 1717. But the idea goes back to ancient Egypt and other ancient civilizations. Now, if you understand that the ancient Masons built their world with brick, so then you understand why today's Freemasons say of themselves that they are the modern day builders of the world. They not only build the building that you live in and do business in, they are building the structure of the world as Freemasons, and they are the building your religions, your political establishments, and all you have to do is to go to the library and get reference books on flags, national coats of arms, symbols, and emblems of different countries and different international organizations. Now, before I go any further, if you guys have a chance to go look on YouTube or into any social network, and you'll type in the word parliamentary building in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Okay, parliamentary building. That's the whole parliamentary building is built by the Freemasons, and it was actually, they even said the Freemasons built that building. And there's actually Freemason symbols in the building, on the floor, up the stairs, the way it's built. And one room is used only for the Freemasons. Not even the Prime Minister can go in that room unless he's Freemason. They're all Freemasonic symbols, and also interesting is the fact that a lot of the graffiti that is being seen in large cities throughout this country are Masonic symbols. Only high degree Freemasons would know that. A lot of the black gangs and the Mexican Masonic symbolism. This leads me to wonder how these kids know that these symbols, I am suggesting they are in some connection between occult, Freemasonry, and the spread of violence and crime in our country. I think we had better look at some of the very uncomfortable and very positively important connections that can be made between crime on the streets and the elitist people that run this country and who are allowing it to happen. There is a reason. I think that crime in this country is being allowed for a purpose. A lot of people may feel this way, but nobody is saying it publicly. Okay. Now, we must ask, where is this going? Where are the occult orders that control most of the important political and religious events of this world trying to lead this planet? Now, I think that for hundreds of years, there has been a concerted effort to lead the world into a new world order, completely new civilization where the human beings will no longer be the same type of humans that they were in the past. We are being guided into a new age, and there's a new world order that is being orchestrated. All the violence and destruction that we are seeing today is a destroy orchestrated. There we go. We're talking about it now. Okay. All the violence and destruction that we are seeing today is, okay, all the violence and destruction that we are seeing today is destroying the old world, the old order in preparation for the new order. You cannot construct a high-rise building where there is an old shack until you tear down the old shack. Today, we are having wars and bloodshed everywhere so that we can destroy the power base of good old boys in different countries, and then the new world order can be set up. I cannot escape the conclusion that there is something, or very, very high up and extremely wise and perceptive as to know how to make things happening to bring about certain conclusion. I tend to believe that being or entity is something spiritual. I believe there is something spiritual happening in our world today, but also uses men, powerful people, and those powerful men often get greedy and may not follow their higher calling properly. They are only human and only human. Okay. And power is intoxicating. I am concerned for the future because of the loss of individuality and loss of human ability, freedom, and liberty to think. That is one thing that about this country that I'm thankful for, that we have the opportunity to discuss things intelligently um, with each other and give each other the opportunity to be heard, but because that is how we grow. However, I think the personal evolution is being stifled. More and more governmental powers from behind the scenes are quietly making sure that people don't talk too much about things that are controversial. And I think that the human minds are being remolded and reprogrammed, and so that people don't really have to think a whole lot anymore. We just go along to get along, and whatever the government says we do, whatever the church says we do, and whatever our assigned authorities say to do, we do. I think that is where the real problem is going to exist. Now, when is this book written? Because everything Jordan is saying in this book is already happening now. He wrote this book back in 2000. You see, guys, 23 years later, he's predicting this. Think about it. Jordan has predicted this. This is not just a writing what he's saying. He's predicted all these things. These things are happening now as we speak. 23 years later, after he wrote this book back in 2000. Holy crow. Okay. So he says, let's step back a moment and consider the Vatican as it existed in the time of the AD 600s. The earth was regarded as being the center of the universe. Now, people were controlled by the church and they lived for the church, and the only hope they had was that they actually would go to heaven and not to hell. And everything else was basically business as usual. Now, that worked quite well for hundreds of years, but this system became rather difficult to uphold when people found out that the earth wasn't the center of the universe. When the church began to lose a lot of its credibility and power, now I think a few people are trying to gain similar power and control over people, but not necessarily through the church. They are trying to regain such power through new secular means, because the people have been infected with this idea of freedom and liberty and individual rights to think for themselves. Consequently, the church is not going to operate well. Churches never operate well in an environment where people are allowed to be themselves and go and do their own thinking, call their own shots in their lives. And so now, instead of being afraid of going to hell, people are being conditioned to be afraid of total destruction through world wars, our environmental collapse, or some other terrible catastrophe coming. Even an alien invasion. There is enough out there that some very brilliant people can come up with something that will scare the life out of us all. Now, they've actually had predicted. There's actually predictions saying that we're going to have, or supposed to be, have an alien invasion, but it will not be real alien invasion. It's going to be CGI. Okay, folks, to let you know, heads up, CGI. Okay. Hello, Linda. Nice to see you in the chat room. Diane. Those folks, those are coming in late this evening. Yes, we're in Facebook Live as well as YouTube. If you guys want to flip back and forth, you're more than welcome to. This is now the reason the book I'm reading about is actually called Matrix of Power. It's actually written by Jordan Maxwell. I feel it's important that you guys need to know this, because this is what's happening out today. Okay, everything that Jordan has written here back in 2000 is actually happening now, even more. Okay, he's really putting the word out there to let you guys know what's really going on. Now, here's one thing that gets me: how come he's already accused or said the words like George Bush Sr. saying that, that we're going to have a new world order? Well, the reason why Jordan can say this now, or has said this, because he knew then, by the time this book actually is re-released, that Senior won't be around anymore to even defend himself to say this. Okay, basically, Jordan's actually telling the truth, but Bush knew that Jordan was right. Okay. So there are people out there who are afraid of Jordan's words. They're afraid of everything that Jordan represented here in his book. So, okay. Um, Not to mention that nature itself um, can be very frightening with such phenomenal as earthquakes, volcanoes, etc. DEWs, which is okay. He's talking about the direct energy weapons, and I wonder how much of this man-made, and there is a considerable high technology in this world that is operational too. The underlying agenda has been control and more control through fear. So one of the basic messages I'm trying to get across is to rid yourself of fear, rid yourself of fear, and educate yourself. Become informed as broadly as you possibly can. Go to the library and or the internet, whichever space available, and check out all these books and or the occult history of the world and look it up, folks. If you get a chance to go to any kind of library or anything is online, I would recommend don't try to use Google. Try use Brave. There's actually a search engine called Brave, and download that and your app, whichever, and go use that because Brave gives you more freedom to do your research compared to Google. A word of warning: the word occult has been grossly misrepresented by the media. Most people, when you hear that word occult, think immediately of demons and the boogeyman. Well, this is yet another way we're being manipulated because we are being told over and over again that there is something mysterious and dark and unnerving and something very fearful about the occult. Everything else is okay. We are told religion is fine, but the occult offers something that is very dangerous. Once you understand what is going on, you find out that some very crafty people have not told you what they are doing and how they're doing it, and they're working on some real heavy duty magic upon you. You are nothing more than a sitting duck because you don't understand the process. The word occult means hidden or mysterious. That simply is all it means. Anything that is hidden is occult. Now, I remember, um, yeah, it just basically means hidden or like it's unknown. You're just looking for, right? Um, that simply is that it all means is anything that is hidden or is occult. I'm talking about the hidden powers behind the throne, the hidden powers behind religion, the hidden innuendos behind everyday symbolism. People who have accepted the authorities as the truth find it very difficult to accept the truth as authority. Authority does not always come with the truth, and truth does not always come with authority. The bottom line is no matter what you believe, there is truth that resonates with your heart and everything else. There is a factual truth that can be pointed out that you have to look for it. If, however, you go all truth that can be pointed out, but you have to look for it. However, you go, where is it? Oh, I see. Okay. It's repeating itself twice. It must have been a double line here. If, however, you go along to get along, you accept your government's view of everything, and if you accept your particular religious persuasion of things, and then you're no different than the Hindus, Buddhists, Muslims, etc., etc., etc. Other people who were condemned throughout the world. Now, those silly radicals who follow the views of their leaders and blow up buildings without asking questions, we may, like them, find ourselves being in wars and killing people without even questioning this authority because they are doing it for the Lord. So they say, and they are very, and any different, they will do the same. What is important that you maintain your own individuality as an intelligent human being and do your own homework on so your thinking comes grounded in the truth. Now, in this particular time in which we are living, we'll be able to speak freely, and is going to be very important in the very near future. Our freedoms are being very closely watched and are being closely monitored. There is a possibility that we're going to lose our freedom of speech quite soon. Now, Jordan said that in 2000. This is 2023. We're beginning to lose he's thought this is all predicting. Okay, there's a possibility that we're going to lose our freedom of speech quite soon. And he's right. On this planet, there are no passengers. We're all crew. And so we all have a stake in it and what is happening in this world. Whether we want to deal with it or not, we have to face what is going on in the world around us, and especially with our rights, and he's capitalized this, our rights as free citizens. H.G. Wells said, civilization is nothing more than a race between education and catastrophe. And that is what we are coming to. Catastrophe is looking at us from our corners of the globe. Certainly from the standpoint of the New World Order, the Talmud states that if there is no knowledge, then there is no understanding. If there's no understanding, then there is no knowledge, and that's what we have today. A whole lot of no understanding. It is about time for people who do know to speak up. President Woodrow Wilson, United States President, once said, if you want to make enemies, just try to change something. So I know that anyone who tries to bring to the public the facts behind the world that we live in is going to be criticized and condemned. I believe that there are enough people in this world who want to know the truth and who want to be willing to stand and fight for it, not in the violent, literal sense, but with higher moral values, holding free ethical standards, and a deeper understanding to be well informed. Let me explain one of the main problems and tragedies in the world today. In the case of one who knows or has wisdom, he is usually aware that he doesn't know everything. It is usually the man who thinks that he knows everything who doesn't know anything. One of the most important ways of learning anything today in our society is through symbols and emblems. And emblems are like words. And if you can't read the emblems or symbols, you don't know what the world is revealing. This is especially true in the religion. We are seeing so much in and what is said to be religion. And in fact, it is nothing more than politics. And of course, politics are religion. And religion is politics. There has never been a religious movement on earth that wasn't a little political. That makes sense. And there has never been a political movement that didn't have a little religion in it. I want to focus on the religion that is prominent in our country, and that is Christianity. Therefore, I get into the subject. Before I want to emphasize that I don't appreciate anyone placing anyone else into a narrow box or pigeonholing them or pigeonholing me and deciding who I am in my belief systems or where I'm coming from. Because if you don't know me, you don't know where I'm coming from. I am not a communist. I am not a Nazi. I'm not a racist. I'm just a human being with something to say, and I belong to no political party. Consequently, I am not coming from any particular place. I am just a human being, a researcher, a teacher, an investigative writer. I enjoy doing what I do, and I have been centered for over 35 years plus, and doing what I do, and it's about time I bring my work to the public. Now, he's talking about that 35 years ago, back in the year 2000. Now it's over 60 years. Now we see in this country on television a lot about Christianity. We see presidents and congressmen, senators, and everybody, all these civic leaders are all into Christianity and going to the church and being fine people. However, for being fine people, we find that many are not really fine. As a matter of fact, an honest politician these days is one who did not take a bribe that he didn't earn, And so let's face it, our system of government has fallen apart. It is collapsing all around us, and that the reason why is that is built on lies. Perhaps one of the greatest lies or misconceptions, and let's be generous here to maybe identify some misunderstandings. It is the truth about Christianity. I would like to deal with Christianity first and get that out of the way, because until such time as the people understand where Christianity came from, how it was organized, and why it teaches what it is does today, you're not going to understand the mentality behind it. And we are talking about a white mentality. Now, this is all to do with Jordan Maxwell. This is not, I'm not doing anything that's against anything. I'm just sharing with you guys what he's written. And this, everything that's written here, but he's written here, is actually showing what's going on right now. So if we go back to say 10 to 15,000 years ago in the ancient world, you should understand that did not have the modern day conveniences that we do. They did not have television to occupy their time and waste their lives. They did not have nice, warm homes and cars and all things that keep them occupied. These are very hostile times in hospitable world. It was fearful and cold and very difficult for human beings to survive, most especially in Europe. Most adults died from around the age of 25 to 30 years of age, and it was a very hostile world for humans to live, to eke out the barest of existence. We are talking again about 10 to 15,000 years ago. It was obvious from the beginning, according to the best material that has been provided to us from history, and that's the best we have from ancient records, that the first enemy for man was darkness. The first thing man realized was frightening, that to his world was just plain darkness. It was bad enough to live through the daytime. When the sun went down, it got scary, because we were predator animals out there. There were enemies lurking in the bush. So nighttime became very fearful to our first hominids. When you understand that kind of a world and those conditions, then from there you begin to appreciate how they perceived the coming of that orb of day, or the sun, sun, as something to look forward to with relief. Because when the sun went down, you got nothing to look forward to but potentially frightful problems. And of course, if you have ever been out on the cold night, you can imagine what our first ancestors 15,000 years ago they had to look forward to when it got real cold at night. You can then appreciate why they would look forward to the coming of the sun, or the coming of the great orb of the day. Now, if you begin to see how these philosophies would come into the people's minds and begin to grow, and their children growing up that would begin to accept the same philosophies and ideas to promote them to their children, and their children to their children, and you begin to see how the philosophy became out of the wars to their children, and between light and darkness. That which was light as was good, of course, and because the light was usually peaceful and it was good, but that as the dark was considered bad. Thereby, this primitive understanding was the basic for this animosity between the light and darkness. Well, we know we have seen a lot of that, because that is carried over into our society, sociologically, sociologically, regarding the war between light and darkness. As I said, light was good, dark was bad. The sun, sun, of course, was the light of the world, and they understood that. The ancients were not stupid. They saw that the sun was not God. They never believed that the sun was God, but they believed that it was a reproduction of God, and it was offspring of God, and it was the closest symbol that day that they could grasp to represent deity in heaven. So they figured that since your son looks a lot like you, well, maybe God looks a lot like the son, or that the son looks a lot like the father. And so they realized this about the son, S-U-N, and I am using the word as an Anglo-Saxon word today. The orb in the sky, or whatever you want to call it, back then was understood to be the descendant of the Father, who was the creator of the heavens. And so, therefore, they realized that this sun did not belong to anyone. It belonged to the heavens, or it belonged to God. And so it was God's son. God's son as S-O-N. Every morning it was in the sky, or it was in heaven. So, therefore, the God's son was in heaven. As I said, it was the son, S-U-N, or the offspring of the Father. They believe that no one has ever seen the Father, and no one can see God. But if the Son, S-U-N, looks like God, then maybe the Son, hashtag, or there's the S-U-N/Son, S-O-N, mimicked God. So when you have seen the Son, then maybe you have seen the Father. Kind of crazy, isn't it? Now, incidentally, it is interesting as to why the ancients believed that God was a father, because it is the most ancient world they associated the creation of the humans. The creation on the earth with the mother, it was only until the coming of the early Roman Empire that the emphasis was put on the male. As contrasted to the African, which is based on the female principle, and even the Greeks borrowed many things from Africa, with one example being the Feast of the Sophia, which was based on the feminine wisdom. And as I said, ancient people knew that no one had ever seen God, and so no one can see God. But if you have seen the Son, you have you have seen the Father. The reason why the ancients believe this postulate, as some of the ancient people believe that God was a father, was because of rain. Rain was perceived to be the fluid from the Father who gives a life or brings life to the Mother Earth. And so when Mother Earth is impregnated with the fluid from the Father in the heaven, then the Mother gives birth to all life. So that is where the concept of God and the Father comes from, and from the rain. The area that we call today Israel, okay, here it is, folks. Here we go. The area today, we call today Israel, was in very ancient times called Cana, C-A-N-A, Cana. The people were called Canaanites, and they were celebrated the great marriage feast. And so to speak, between God and the Father, Mother Earth, and all the light that the two of them produced for us, this very ancient celebration was in spring, and that was called the marriage feast of Cana. This was where God's Son was symbolically asked by Mother Earth to draw water to make it rain, and so that the grapes could grow and that we could have a wine feast, which is called the marriage feast of Cana. That's where that comes from. Of course, the sun gives life to us and gives us our energy, and it gives energy to all living things. Now then, we eat those living things to give us energy. So the sun, the S-U-N, is giving up its energy for us to live. And just as the ancients believed that God's Son, S-O-N, gave his life, and so that we may live. The son of different words, of course, represented this, which is interesting, because that the ancient Egyptians said that as long as the sun comes up in the morning, there's going to be life. There's obviously going to be life before, as long as the sun comes up. Therefore, the sun gives everlasting life on the earth as long as the sun comes up. Now, therefore, the sun gives everlasting life. Yes, I know that. On earth. Oh, I see then. Okay, the line come across. But not for you, only on the earth, and is there everlasting life. Of course, God's Son, S-U-S-O-N, is our Savior, is that He, H-E, is risen. Moreover, the ancients said that the sun, as wonderful as it was not going to save anybody if it did not come up in the morning. If it doesn't come up in the morning, we are dead. He is our salvation. He is our Savior only if He has risen. And the word He, H-E, has risen. Oh, this is crazy. And the Egyptians called that risen sun in the morning Horus. Horus was God's son. That was the name they came up with for him in Egypt, Horus. And they said that in the morning all the Egyptians would get up to see the sun come up, like the Easter sunrise service. They would come and see the sun come, S-U-N, come up, like an Easter sunrise service. They would see the sun come up as he was rising. You would go out to see Horus, and he is risen. That's why even today the sun comes up on the horizon. Horus risen, Horus risen, or the word horizon. You had better thank the Father for sending his son, because he is your life and he is your salvation. Ancients breathed a sigh of relief when they saw the sun come up, because they became more secure in their world when they saw the sun come up. Everything came clear, and they would come see the animals, and they weren't afraid of the dark anymore. So consequently, the sun took on the position of the Prince of Peace, because everyone felt much better when the sun, S-U-N, came up, and so he was considered the Prince of Peace. Now, as we've said, the sun in Egypt was called Horus, but when it rose in the morning, and that is where he had 12 segments in his lifespan, in the daytime, half of 24 hours or half hours of light. Not half hours. Say this again. Now as we have said, the sun is in Egypt was called Horus, and when it is rose in the morning, and that is where he had 12 segments of his lifespan in the daytime. Now, half of 24 hours or 12 hours of light. Okay, that's okay. That's where we get the word hours. Okay, H-O-U-R-S. Hours comes from Horus, or Horus hours. Oh, okay. H-O-U-R-S and H-O-R-U-S. So therefore, the sun would come up on the horizon. It is interesting too, in the Egyptian way of thinking, that there was a second sun, S-U-N, S-O-N. God had second son who was equal to the first. That was bad. If you are familiar with the Egyptian mythology, you would know that his name was Set. Oh my God, sunset. You watch. And of course, Set was an evil son. He was dark. And so that made him evil, and he would only come out as the Prince of Darkness that after dark at sunset. So of course it got dark after sun went down, and so the Set came out when it got dark and became the boogeyman who was going to get you, since he was dark. Therefore, that made him bad. Now you have two brothers, Horus and Set. One was light and one was darkness. The other original trinity in Egypt was the three lifespans of the sun, or the three lifespans in life: morning, noon, and night. With people, we have the newborn, the mature, and the dying. This is where we got the original concept from the Trinity. Oh, for the Trinity. In Egypt, Horus was the beginning, the sun coming up on the horizon, which was the newborn. Then at 12 noon, the sun was high over the pyramid, which was the no shadow on the pyramid. So they knew it was 12. Therefore, it was called the point of most high, or high noon. Okay. As you couldn't go any higher in the sky, so Horus was called the Most High. Therefore, you have in the morning God's son, Horus, then the Most High at 12 noon. And then at night, it's set from there where you have your original Trinity. The religion had been taken all sorts of twists and turns and coming down through the history, but this is the basis for what we call today Christianity. If you don't understand that, then you don't appreciate where the stories originate from. And if that has always amazed me, how many people will understand Christianity, but not understand that Christianity is nothing more than a retelling of the same retelling. What's this though? Retelling of the same age. Oh, okay. Age hyphen and the next line. Age old stories that have come down through time. As a matter of fact, the Bible is not called the greatest collection of facts ever assembled. No, it's called the greatest story ever told. Okay, so this window called a sun window is one of the oldest sun symbols from the ancient world. Now you see here, folks, this is the one right here. Okay, on the far right, you'll see it. Now, there's something more I learned from that as well. Those are not just sun symbols on that church. I've learned more about that since then, before and long after Jordan Max passed away. Those windows are also energy centers, and on top of the churches. Originally, those churches were not even churches; they were energy centers. So basically, all those points that you see on top of the temples, it was actually the energy from the sun, as well as electrical energy that was shooting down through the lines, through the building itself, which actually was creating free energy. So anything you had electrical that was moving, that's what these centers were used for. So there's more to it. It weren't just considered churches in the beginning. It's interesting. Anyways, I think we'll stop right there, but we'll get into the part when we talk about the greatest story ever told next week. But I thought it's interesting myself, when Jordan wrote this book. I mean, everything here, I'm sure you guys, thank you guys for having to be patient to see what I'm saying. But I find this important for you guys to know, because a lot of things in here most don't know, you know. Oh, God's there. God does exist. Why do we pray to God that is not? He didn't say God wasn't here. He's just basically talking about the sunrise and sunset, right? And God is here. God does exist. There's actually, I'll tell you one thing, folks, that I want to say this, double eyes. I know God exists because when I was a kid, okay, I myself met Jesus when I was 16 and as well as 8. But I think the longer I spent time with Jesus when I was 16, I never went to church. And I told you guys, may have told you guys a story before, but I never went to church ever in my life at the time. And I was I was on the farm as a teen, and I was in our family garden. It was a big, huge garden, and I was working in the garden. Beautiful day, that day, and the sun was over here in the sky, but there was a sunbeam that came over here across me, and this big, huge, like sunbeam boom down. And I stopped and I looked up and I thought, oh, this is different. Never seen that before. A sunbeam came down, and next thing you know, it disappeared, and there was a man. His image showed, and as he walked closer, it was Jesus. And I knew it was him because you just know. And he looked like a very biblical person, and his appearance was absolutely, like you just knew because the energy was nothing but unconditional love. Like he was just loving you, and he wanted to talk to me. So, I know God exists, and I know Jesus, the Son of God, exists. It does exist. People have actually said many times before, they've actually said that Jesus, they're waiting for the second coming of Christ. Well, number one, it already is here. People may not know that, but Jesus is back. It has always been back for quite a long time. But he's been helping people. He's been helping us, and he's been helping the new David, which is President Trump. But he's not like physically there doing it, but I know he's there because I know. And he's been around for quite a long time. So, but he travels. Like, here's a cool thing about there are things that we may not understand or understand about spirit or about God. But what I've learned in this, I've never lost hope and I never lost faith. And Jesus always taught me, or in God or Spirit even taught me, God's in here. It's not specifically a location. It's not, people saying, oh, God's up there. Yeah, it's all part of. Like, I love it when Jordan talks about this because he's trying to give you an analogy of what to understand what the Egyptians had said, what they're, and through the generations since 600 AD. And he's right about the Bible. The Bible itself is telling you the greatest story ever told. Now, Jesus did tell me himself, because I talked to him about the Bible. And Jesus did say to me that the Bible itself is 7/8 untrue. 7/8 untrue. Now, I don't know why he said 7/8, but he did. And the reason why I'm saying this, because I at first didn't understand. Then he said to me, "It's 7/8 untrue," means the words have been changed, like things have been shifted, changed around to man's beneficial beliefs. Okay, so the Bible has been switched so much from translation of Hebrew, Latin to German. Interesting how it became German first, but that's what they did, because Martin Luther himself, not Martin Luther King, but Martin Luther was a priest, practicing priest, and he actually didn't like the see how the people of his own people of the village or people in the city were being treated by the cardinals and by the Pope, mistreating the public and putting fear in the public for what happened. And so he decided to translate, because all the villagers had no knowledge whatsoever what the Bible, their version of the Bible, had stated. The cardinals telling them what they believed in. Well, the cardinals were even telling people that after their loved ones had died, that they're going to go to hell if they don't donate any money, and they had to suffer. They had to give a coin. They had to give a coin to the cardinal, or to a monk or whatever his is who running that town. They had to give a coin, and they themselves had to climb up the stairs on their knees and pray on each stair to protect their family loved ones in supposed to be in hell after their death. Well, it doesn't happen that way. You're not in hell after you die. But this is what the cardinals and the popes were teaching them. They're telling them this. This is like, now you understand, folks. The Pope and the Vatican was absolutely evil back in the 1500s, even earlier. They were treating the people, the villagers, the people living in the countries. You had to do what the Pope tells you. The Pope actually was the original. They were called the King Dome. They were the original kingdom. They were the ones that were in their own. That's why the covers. If you see the covers on the Vatican area, they always have those covers that goes into a dome. That's called a kingdom. Though popes and you have a king or a queen, but mostly kings are running their countries or running their area, whatever, how the pope is, who is involved with how the pope is in control. The pope is always controlling the king, telling the king what to do. The pope pretend to be in the background, but the pope was not the ruler. The ruler is the black pope. The black pope tells the regular pope what to do. You got your black pope, your red pope, and your white pope. And that's why the black pope had more power. The black pope practiced demonology. He protected Satanism. Then they got your white pope. Okay, and the black pope was telling the white pope what to do, and then he got his cardinals. The cardinals were the pedos. That's why they wore red. They were the sacrificers. They were the ones that sacrificed the children. That's why you see statues of children shoving. You'll see this figures of young little babies and children in the front of the popes or the monks' garb, and the garb is up, and the kid's face is in under the garb of their robes, because that's telling them that they control the children, and it was all due to pedophilia. Pedophilia has been going on for generations. It had nothing to do with, you don't see little girls, it's always boys. Little girls were put to death, or they were servants, or slaves, but the boys were used as other needs by the popes and the cardinals, as well as the and whoever followed that direction. So, and then the Romans did the same thing. You never seldom ever see a little girl with any of the Roman leaders. There's always a boy, because that's what they practiced, and because the Pope told them what to do. So it was ongoing. Okay, folks, it was ongoing. This is the thing that most people don't realize. Pedophilia has been going on for generations, for thousands of years, but yet you're only learning. People saying, "Oh, well, it's something new." No, it's not. It's been going on for a long, long, long time. But there are certain people that broke away and decided to go back to say, we need to have more children here, so we need to start matching up men and women, because it was coming to the point there was hardly any kids around, because they're taking all the boys away. Why do you think they took all the boys away during the Great Wars in Europe? They weren't taking girls; they were taking boys, and left all the girls behind. And they took all the boys away to be soldiers. But how come no girls went with them to fight? Because those girls, and they were not used as servants. Those girls were left behind. In the meantime, they were depopulating. They were controlling the masses. That's why they took the boys, because it took them 15 years before the boys became soldiers. So they were being used for other means first, for sexual needs, to satisfy those soldiers before they became who they were. It's been proven history. It's been ongoing, and it's very, very. It was like this through Europe for thousands of years, for hundreds of years. So it's, and same with the Romans, did the same thing themselves. So the thing is that people don't realize that. Anyways, what else is there before I forget? I hope I was able to do well, able to share some of the information for you guys regarding what Jordan's stories. Now, the reason why I wanted to share all this information with you now, because we're in that time now. We're in that time where things are going to come to the surface. We're going to start to see more truths being exposed. Okay. From the mainstream media as well. It's like you're starting to see it now. It's coming out. There's, like, for example, I will say this. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, the professional wrestler, has announced his candidacy to become president of the United States for 2024. Well, reason why he did that is because a few weeks ago he was considered associated with a pedophile organization connected to Oprah Winfrey. So he believed that if he actually decided to be part of a political agenda, that the government can't go after him, and they'll say, "Oh, they're trying to hurt me because I'm joining as a political blah blah blah." Blah. That's what it is. Because he knows he's in danger. He knows that he is really seriously you know what, okay. But again, this is not the real Dwayne Rock, okay, because the other one, the real one, is gone bye bye. But again, you're watching the movie. Okay, I'm sure you see him showing up at wrestling matches and going like, clone, 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 clone. They're just a bunch of clones. Aloe you. Okay, so they making them. They're doing such a good job. So, anyways, if you're not believing this, then look it up, folks. You'll start seeing it, like Saturday Night Live. When he did Saturday Night Live, he kept talking about, he pretended he was a scientist, and he was actually, why did he do that? Where he said he can go after a child and make them into sexual assault machines, right? Yeah, I did say that. Okay. Anyways, that and but you'll start seeing a lot of people right going for they want to become politicians suddenly, and there have been some politicians that have been taken away, lost their positions in the States as well as Canada here. Some have been taken away, go bye bye. So our country is playing the right now. We're going through the distraction regarding Israel and the other country. So they're just doing this right now. I got so, like I said before earlier in the show, I've got so many pictures and videos of things that they try to make you believe what's going on. It's not. But I'm going to play this for you from one of the ladies that I know.
Can we talk about?
Okay, I'm going to turn this volume up on her. And I'll bring this up over here. And this is called Decodes and Expectations. Now, I know some of our people in my chat rooms have been saying, Derek, when is this going to be over? Derek, when is this going to be over? Well, you're going to have to see what I'm talking about. And everything I've been trying to explain, this lady here is doing the same thing. She is one of the decoders, and she's just basically showing you something too as well, the same thing I'm doing. I've been trying to be very, how do you say it, mild about what's going to happen next, but I already know what's going to happen. Somehow get an idea what's going to happen next. I'm trying to do is give you guys a little bit more of a heads up regarding this book. Okay. Jordan Maxwell has already been making predictions here, and including Sylvia Brown, the late Sylvia Brown. She even made predictions regarding what happened these last 3 years regarding the the coffers, COUGHers, and the snake biters. So she predicted that back in 1984 that was going to happen, even the date. So even though these guys are no longer here, but they've already made the predictions starting in the book. They're showing you what's going on. But I want you to see this. Now, those are probably they're not in the. Those are in the YouTube chat room. I know you guys can't see this, but if you can swing over to Facebook, you'll see what I'm talking about. But again, I'm going to re-release this video. I'm going to be placing it on Rumble, recording of the program, and sharing it with everybody. So if you guys want to come have a listen to, and you'll see this lady here herself. She calls herself Q Rash the Matrix. Crash the Matrix. And I'll just turn it on from here and watch closely.
Decodes today and maybe expectations. Decodes, first of all, are not predictions. Gematria is not a prediction. And judging by comments like these that we keep seeing over and over and over again, people are expecting things. Been waiting for the boom, but only getting the pop. And sorry, the enthusiasm that I have, I guess you don't understand it, and I'll explain it. But I think I just need to explain one thing about expectations. Why? Why do you expect what you expect? Ask yourself that. Better yet, ask yourself, has anyone with the proper authority told you what to expect and when to expect it? Decoding is like putting a puzzle together with a bunch of missing pieces. We know we're never going to get a finished result because we're missing pieces. But yet it confirms things that we actually can see and can put together as in connecting dots. And it gives us that confirmation that I need to know that things are happening. And I use gematria as a tool. It's just an insight or an interpretation into what Trump might be saying. And when I get results, there's no right or wrong results. It's just the message behind of the words that we put in. It's the message behind it. And we relate it to the current events happening at that time. Unfortunately, there are people out there that are giving dates and intel that they don't have proof of. So I still ask you, why do you set an expectation based on words, based on things that it's just a rumor? That is where you're following blindly and you're setting yourself up for your fall. So again, you create your own reality. All you got to do is stop following what people say and create your own reality for what you feel. And that brings me to my enthusiasm. I know in my heart that we would not be exposing or seeing the exposure of all the things that we know now if the people involved were not already dealt with. That alone is enough to give me as much joy as I can muster up, because I see the amount of things that we are exposing, and there's no way that could happen if they were still in control. And I listen to Trump, and he doesn't always talk in comms. He straight up tells us things, and everything's coming together. It's all fitting together. And it's the most exciting time to be alive because of what is actually happening in the world. And my joy or my enthusiasm, it comes from knowing God is in control. I see it every day. I see it. And I know we can't rush God's plan. You can't take down 6,000 years of evil without a struggle. So I'm willing to wait for it to be done right the first time. There are no second chances at this. And all I know is I believe it. When this is all said and done, Trump tells us the best is yet to come.
Now you know. And the best is yet to come. Here's what I'll tell you guys now. Oh, let me see my friend behind me. Ha ha ha. The best has yet to come, and it has come every day. I mean, look how many things you guys have been able to accomplish through these last, I would say, 2 years. How many wonderful things have been happening for everybody that you got more freedom. You're seeing the movies every day. You're seeing the staging every day, whether it's in Parliament or whether it's in Congress, the United States or Canada. Both of them are staging. They're just games. It's a game. And like we already know, most of our politicians, what I was told already, that 70% of the Liberal Party are no longer in the party. They were taken away, gone, bye-bye. They're gone. 70% of the Liberal Party are gone, right? The ones you see right now are replacements that look like them. So it's a show. We are all in a show. Same with the Congress. It is a show. These are pre-recorded. They are dated when they're supposed to happen. The same with Israel and Palestine. It's a show. Everything is recorded. Okay? The people are participating in the show. As we said from the beginning, there's over 120,000 actors, crisis actors playing the game, playing the role, and there's people participating that get paid to protest, which is part of Antifa. They're going in the street, playing the same role. They're beating up citizens and killing them. Okay? Some of those citizens are getting killed in the street by Antifa. They're getting paid for this. And it's not by Trump's people. These are the evil ones that hire these people to go in the street to kill if they have to, beat you up and to put you in coma. And so then they do get arrested by the police. Okay. Now, when they're talking about peaceful protest, they're expecting you to have a peaceful protest. But when you are not protesting peacefully and you're the agitator, then you're the one that they don't want around. And if you're the agitator, you're going to go bye-bye because the police are watching you. They're going to follow you home. There's a special unit, okay? A special unit, and they're going to come and collect you, right? And if you think you're going to get away with it, for whomever you beat up, you put in the hospital, whoever you try to kill, you're done, bud. You're gone. You think you're going to get away with shit? No, you're done. Because you're pictured. There's videos of you everywhere. They already know who you are. They sit in their vehicles and they watch you. And I'm letting you guys know out there, those that are protesting, you want to commit violence? You think that no one's watching you, that you can think and get away with it? It's not the police that are going to come collect you. It's the military. They're watching you. They're going to come collect you guys. I'm not kidding you. If you think you're going to try and protect some other country, or you think you're doing right, fine. But you don't have to hurt people on account of it. You don't have to hate people because they have an opinion. I have an opinion. There's people out there who may not agree with what I do. I'm still spiritual. I still love God. I believe that God belongs to everyone. There's not one individual God for one group of people. God loves everyone. We're the ones that make those judgments. We're the ones that make the decisions. That's why I'm here, is because I choose to do this. I don't ask for money. This is on my own time, my own dime, my own income. I earn my own income, my own way. I do this because I care. Okay. I do care. I care about everyone out there. I don't care who you are, race, color, creed. I don't care. Even if you're an alien, I don't care. As far as I'm concerned, you're still a wonderful person because you were born here. You're brought here. God allows all these things to happen for us to go through these life experiences. We're all brought here for a life experience. Jesus told me when I was 16, I didn't have to stay on this earth anymore, that I was going to go, he was going to bring me back home. So you want to come back home? You don't have to stay anymore. And I said to Jesus, I want to stay. I want to see the year 2000, but I also want to see the space age. Why would I want to say that? Why did I say that? Because my consciousness kept on saying, Derek, you want to see the future. You want to see what it looks like. I still want to see the space age. I'm not done. And I know very well I'm going to be here for a longer time, you think. Okay? I'm going to be here for a longer time, you think. I'm not going to be here as an old man, because I already know when the med beds get here, it's going to help rejuvenate my health more, feel younger, look younger, live longer, a little bit longer. I'm not ready to leave. I can leave, but I'm not ready to leave. I want to still do things in my life that I'm not done with yet in this life. Or sure, people say, well, you can die and come back and do more things. No, I want to remember that I had done these things. I want to carry on with some of my historical research. I want to carry on even for Jordan Maxwell. I want to help him. I'm one of those people. Danny Brinkley, Johnny Enoch, and there's a few other people. David Icke, people like them, all them. I mean, I may not agree with David Icke has been doing some areas, but people need to remember too. Icke took a lot of Jordan's Jordan's history with him, and Icke used it and carried it and used it. But sometimes Icke takes it, thinks that it's his idea. He tends to forget who gave him the information, right? So, but Icke came on board and joined in and started doing it. So here's Jordan and Icke. They worked together before, and so remember that one time Jordan said they had a falling out with Icke because Icke was actually taking credit, using the credit, saying, "Oh, he's the one that said it," and he didn't say that Jordan said it. He just said he did it. No, he did not. So Jordan reminded him, just say, "Look, my information comes from da da da." And there are people out there that are like myself, are taking Jordan's information. Those are reviewing all of Jordan's his interviews. Folks, watch them, right? Watch them. It's worth your while to watch these videos of Jordan Maxwell's. You'll have a better understanding of what this world is like. I've been around this for a long, long time. And it's hard. It was hard for me to share this information to a lot of people that are even in the psychic field, because I would explain to them about things that I know, and they'll go like, okay. And their way of what they wanted to believe, most of these readers, is they didn't want to see the alien. They didn't want to see the ghost. They didn't want to see anybody appear before them. All they want to do is give the person a reading. Well, okay, fine. That's your choice. But me, I wanted to go more. I didn't want to sit here and just be a reader. I wanted to go more. I wanted to name names. I wanted to hear from them, and hear their names to give a message to that person. Or I want to help give people the truth. I mean, that's what I am. I'm a truth seeker. Okay. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a truth seeker. I share the truth. I share what's important. When I met Jordan Maxwell, I was absolutely excited. I never tried to I wasn't following Jordan Maxwell. I wasn't chasing him down to say, people say, "Oh, I discovered Jordan Maxwell." No, Johnny introduced me to him. If it wasn't for Johnny, I never would have known Jordan. Johnny was also hanging out with Jordan for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and they would travel across the United States together. Johnny learned a lot from him because Johnny's because of his information, of his knowledge. Johnny learned from Jordan. Then after Jordan passed away, there's a few times Jordan had come to me in a vision, in dreams, and they told me I had to give messages to certain people. And the way I got to Jordan, or how Jordan found me, or how he made sure I would not forget his message for people, he would take me to Area 51 restaurant, that's where his hangout was. Jordan Maxwell used to go to the Area 51 restaurant, and there's a large one. Actually, Jordan said the biggest photograph anybody who's ever been on the wall is Jordan's picture. Jordan Maxwell's picture is the biggest photograph in all of Area 51 in that in their restaurant, because there's a lot of famous people involved in the UFO field for years, and Jordan's was the largest. And Jordan would say that his picture is the largest out of everybody. And Jordan didn't intentionally do that. It's just they took it. They made that. Somebody made that picture and put it in there. And Jordan had to autograph it, and so his picture's in the Area 51 restaurant. But I saw a vision of Jordan sitting at a small table, talking to someone across from him. There was a two chairs, one small table, and looked like the old 1960s, 70s type of old table. Red. They had a red top and silver. Had the look like the chrome trim around it. That's the vision I got. And Jordan was talking to someone, and I saw Jordan in my vision And Jordan turned to me and gave me the message. He says, you send this to so-and-so, and you tell that person so-and-so. So I said, okay, Jordan. And I wanted to talk to him, but that was it. He cut me off. Like, he wants, like, no, I can't talk to you right now. You got to give him that message. Because if I kept the conversation with Jordan, then I would never give the person the message. So but I want to know from Jordan, how are you doing? But Jordan goes, nope, give him the message now. Like, he was just blunt. I thought, okay, it's important. So I gave those people the messages from Jordan, right? Because Jordan believed in me. He believed in me even after his passing, that I had to give the message to people. So this is what happens. People, when you get to know them and love them, like he was like, to me, he reminded me of an uncle. He was, any knowledge you need to know, he was there to give it to you. And he would never get tired of it. He may repeat himself sometimes, but he does it because he makes sure that you don't forget. And there's sometimes I'll even say things that I'll tell people, and may repeat it once or twice, or may repeat it a couple of times. But my uncle always said, they'll never forget you if you even repeat it twice, because if they do remember what you said, that means that's going to be shared. That shared knowledge will go to somebody else, and they're going to use it. And that's exactly what we need to do, is to share that knowledge. So, that's what I'm doing. It's important. But anyways, I wanted to share that, let you guys know that. So next week, we'll talk to you guys next week and be good to each other. But like I said before, we're halfway through this book, and with the Power Matrix of Power. But if you're ever able to find this book online, there may be some books somewhere. Some people may have it for sale. Go to Amazon, wherever have you, just see if you can find one like it. Buy it. It's worth the money. It's worth the time, because it's historical. Okay. And like I said before, Jordan autographed his to me. That's Jordan's signature. So this book has come to good use. And what I have read so far to you folks, this is the second round, and we're almost halfway through the book. So it's worth the read. It's worth sharing with you. I hope you guys are able to use this to carry it on, to carry this knowledge with you. But I do recommend it. If you do find it, get that book. Okay. Matrix of Power, Secrets of the World Control, Jordan Maxwell. Get a hold of him. Get a hold of it. It's like, Jordan's not alive, and there's nobody that I know that may have any more of his books. But if there is, get the book. It's worth your while. Anyways, I'll be back here next week, guys. And in the meantime, and in between time, this next Friday, next week on the weekend too, I'll be at the City of Lights in Surrey, BC, doing an event. I'll be actually selling my wares. Next week on my crafts and stuff will be in the market. So if you guys are in the area, on the Surrey, Vancouver area, if you want to come down, it's one of the biggest gatherings for the Christmas lights. It's on Saturday and a Sunday from 12 noon to 8 p.m. And it's 12 noon, I think 12 to 8 p.m. both days. Come down, come say hello. I'm in the market. You'll see my booth. It's called Extra Touch Design. Extra Touch Designs is who I am. And come see what I'm doing. Come say hello. And it's worth your while, because there's lots of people there. They're expecting at least a good 20,000 or so people there at this event. Okay, guys. So in the meantime, take care. We'll talk to you guys next week, and God love you both all. And please share, like, and share. Go to my, like I said before, go to my Rumble page, as well as my True North Strong and Free. If you haven't got any Telegram yet, get a Telegram, download the app. It's worth your while. Join that one. Find me, and I'll get you guys to come join the page. Take care, guys.
Everyone lives, everyone dies. Everyone loves, everyone cries. Round the world we're all alike. So why is there war? Why do we fight? There's one seed, one smile, one hurt. So you and I gotta learn to live together. When one hurts, when one needs, we always gotta learn to live together. Peace, make peace, make peace, peace. Alright. Isn't it time, brothers, time? Isn't it time, mother, stop crying? Stop the fighting in the head. We gotta make peace before it's too late. There's one sea, one sky, one earth. So you and I gotta learn to live together. When one hurts, when one needs, we all gotta learn to live together. Peace, in peace, make peace. Alright, make peace, peace together. Peace.